Hello, I'm Alenviel, and this is the next entrant for my visual novel Tuesday. It's World End Economia, volume episode 1, I think it's called. It's by Isuna Hasekura, as I forgot the name again. I just looked to the side because I have their various books of Spice and Wolf. So that's why I know it, because he is also the author of Spice and Wolf. So, and his main thing is economics. So, let's go! In the past, people really believed that there was a doorway to an alternate world on the dark side of the moon. This dark side could not be seen from Earth, so it was only a few decades ago that images were successfully taken of it. As Earth had been visited and mapped, divested of all its mysteries and secrets, it was made painfully clear that there were no rabbits on the moon, no traces of aliens, and certainly no pieces of portals to alternate worlds. Frustratingly. This was perhaps why the journey to the dark side of the moon through the vastness of space was so fascinating for me when my parents took me there as a kid. Mankind had never set foot upon any of the glittering stars that were arrayed before me. Okay. When I realized that, I felt a desire to leave my footprints where no one had gone before. It wasn't until after I learned more about the world that it had dawned on me what a foolhardy dream that was. Regardless, it was something that shook to the core so much that I nearly wet my pants. Afterwards, everything before me became a stepping stone in my mind towards my dream of setting foot where no one had gone before. I had no time to waste. Okay, so we have a hero here that wants to be the first somewhere. How will you achieve that one? If I didn't act now, then someone else would leave their footprints there first. Faster, faster, much faster. The population continued to grow, and time ruthlessly slipped away. Only a handful could be the vanguard of it all. Not a day went by where I didn't ponder what I could see. It would be a new frontier where familiar places, customs, and the past would not exist. Frontier where every small movement I made would become part of history. The footprints of the first humans on the moon could still be found preserved in the sea of tranquil Memorial Hall. Those footprints could told uncountable tales. Footprints left in the sand, measuring just shy of 30 inches. So, then we're on the moon, if that makes sense, since the footsteps are on there. We should be on the moon. Even so, they were amazing footprints that sent shivers down my spine. Okay, so it's a nice introduction to the world, I have to say. The white screen is also quite interesting. With a click, my mobile PC turned on. I woke to the whirling of the hard drive. Since I had fallen asleep curled up in my chair, clutching my PC, it was difficult to get my body to move. My body felt so stiff. I was so sure that a careless motion would break something. Even so, I rather enjoyed the sensation of slowly stretching out my limbs from this cramped position after waking up. It made me feel alive. It truly let me know that I was awake. Actually, I'm kind of the same when I wake up. I'm rather curled up and then I try to stretch out. I willed my arms to move, then my legs. Actually, I used the legs first and then the arms. Although hardly efficient, this is how I chose to do things. And what happened when I woke up every morning was a satisfying action and one I never had a chance to savor before I left home. So you're a runaway. Interesting. Or on a travel. On top of the table, I had my rather crude de-old lamp on, a coarse layer of fat that had formed on the surface, that the leftover coffee in my dirty cup. Besides my cup was a half-eaten chocolate bar which I reached for and crammed into my mouth. I swallowed the unpleasantly sweet chunk as the PC finished booting up. At that moment my brain went to work as I verified that I had my wallet, memory cards, and bag on me, and that none of it had been stolen while I was asleep. It appeared that I had survived the previous night. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. However, in order for me to survive today, I would have to make some money. It had been 3 months and 12 days since I left home. Telling myself that I wasn't just some well-to-do kid pretending to be a ruffian, I flipped open the organic display. Interesting. I was staying at a cheap nav cafe. I find these places quite particular. I would love to be in one because, let me be honest, it looks cool to be there. And I have no idea how. It was a good-for-nothing establishment that leached Wi-Fi from another shop, and its customers were of equally questionable quality. Hey kid, fine morning, isn't it? As I left the booth to go wash my face, an income clerk greeted me as he played a game at the counter. I figured he wasn't so much being friendly as much as he was making sure I knew he was watching me. Interesting way. The only entrance and exit were next to the counter, and off to the side of the wall there were the words, "Everyone pays, no freeloaders." Even though the sad excuse for a building was built in a sewage canal, money was always collected. The only thing that concerned me when I left home was finding a place to sleep. Though I had some money, I couldn't really change my appearance. A fine morning. I'm not fond of your sarcasm, Earth Dog. Kirk's face twisted into a smile at my retort. What? You're insulting him and he smiles? Well. Oh ho! It is unfortunate not to know what a real morning looks like, since the weather here is just a computer program. He said that lightly as he returned his gaze to his game. He seemed to be from Earth, though I wondered if he came up to the moon as an unskilled laborer, got fired, and ended up here as an outcast of some sort. He has an interesting hairstyle, that's to be honest. Why don't you head back to Earth then? At my words, he turned briefly to glance at me and laughed sarcastically. Things are a bit better here than down there, anyhow. That's how he responded. Moon scum. Without responding, I went to the washroom. My name is Yoshiharu Kawaru. Wow? Kawara? I don't know. I was born and raised in this lunar city, so I was a genuine moon scum. I returned to my booth, entered my password, and booted up the tool application on my computer. Welcome screen, whose only good point was its friendliness, was followed by a merciless and desolate landscape much akin to the surface of the moon. Countless lines of words flickered on the screen. I imagine it's the kind of effect you'd get if you took a picture of an undeveloped part of the moon surface with a low-res camera. The screen showed a section of the lunar stock exchange. This was the kind of place for a moonscum like me to make a living. I'll get rich without needing to break a sweat. I didn't have enough time to earn an honest living. Took a deep breath and went about business. Downward revision for the first fiscal quarter of CK Bio. Possibility of an investigation into Emerald Industries over suspicion of collusion. Regarding inflation, the board of directors at the Lunar Central Bank was one eye on the stream of news. I focused on managing 220 stocks, picking up those with large price fluctuations. For instance, if one stock had moved 10% on the previous day and another had moved 1%, the probability was high that the stock that moved 10% could move by 1 today. I would trade it on that notion alone. Putting into consideration the mood of the market based on the news, I would buy stocks with large fluctuations. Within the turbulent up and down movements of the price, I could extract some profit, which is what I occupied myself with between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. lunar time. Between those hours, the only thing that went into my mouth were food that I could eat one-handed and drinks. To be honest, I'd be so engrossed into trade that breaks were uncommon. Even if I had free time to take a break, I'd rather use it to look at my screen and grasp price fluctuation and do some trade. So he's a stockbroker, a kid stockbroker, and seemingly, or a stockbroker anyway. After all, the difference of a few minutes when making a call to buy or sell could easily mean the difference between gaining or losing 1 or 2%. My war chest was 72,000 moles. 1% of that came to 700 moves. A star clerk here would make 7 moves an hour at best. This was the kind of place where a public school teacher monthly starting salary was 1,200 moves, so I could make in a few minutes what they'd make in a month, but you could also lose that much, to be honest. Of course, over the course of the day's trading, some people win and others would lose. But I knew I was on a winning streak of all streaks. Before I knew it, my seed money of 1,000 mules had ballooned into 72 times that. The one and only time I did honest, hard labor in my life was to build that seed money. Since then, I've just been building my assets through these trades. While the gains were a little less than what they used to be, the greater your assets grew, the faster they grew. So, it didn't worry me. It'd be what they'd call a snowball effect. I'd never seen snow before, but I'd seen videos of Earth before, and thus I was familiar with it. So, as you said, you live on the moon, you don't have no idea what snow is, but you think you know what snow is, and you're a stockbroker who wants to be the first in mankind to reach someplace. Interesting. I had decided I was going to make even more money and then live in the center of this lunar city. It's a place where a ton of ridiculously smart people were gathered. It said that 70% of this world's wealth was held by people there. I'd live it up there, and then... Back in my head was high on these kinds of delusions as I performed trade after trade like a man possessed. So, you're kind of like... You want to be in the center of the city, which is, as it is right now, still the most important place kind of the city. But you were trading stocks to reach that point, and you think you have no problem because you're on a win streak. It's kind of weird. That's why it took me a while to notice. I finally did after I got smacked on the head. Yo, kid. I turned around to see that clerk from before standing in front of the booth's open door. What, you want money? Since when did this place become prepay? Or was it something else? Was making money not allowed here? What do you want? I'm busy. I glared at him that the overly skinny, bleary-eyed clerk let out a tired sigh. That's your reply. I came to tell you that the police are on their way. Gather up street urchins and... It's a bit weird that my screen is a bit blurring out half the time. I hope this is just the game function. Before the clerk finished his sentence, my PC had been closed and thrown into my bag. Hey, wait! The employee grabbed my shoulder as I tried to push him aside and exit the booth. Though he was thin, he was still muscular, strong enough to remind you that he was an adult. Okay, so you're running. Still, I always kept a set amount of money in my breast pocket for times like this. Interesting thought process. Grabbed and thrust it into his hands. Keep the change. I put on my hat, shouldered my bag, and ran down a narrow corridor. Wondering what was going on in the booth, a bunch of guys who looked like they just mumbled useless replies to any police questioning peeked through the cracks from their booths, wondering if someone had been arrested. Whoa. Those are highlighting things. After sliding past the dirty counter, I made it to the store's even filthier exit. The chipped away paint and the rust made it already cramped building feel even more claustrophobic. I ran straight down the hallway towards the open air. Ooh. But there were stairs if I had turned left at the end of the hall. But I never had any plans to use them in the first place. So, you're kind of a parkour guy even? Well, we're on the moon, so yeah, that makes sense with the gravity. But interesting character at least. He's kind of interesting. We don't know everything about him, but we know what he's trying to reach, which is interesting, to be honest. Without a moment's hesitation, I kicked off the floor, jumping as high as I could. Passing over the concrete wall, my body flew out over the street. Because the cafe was on the 5th floor of the building, there was a heck of a view below me. I jumped towards the wall of the building opposite of me, and then kicked off from that wall, aiming back towards the wall of the first building. So now you're wall jumping. Once the sole of my foot hit a pipe on the wall, I jumped straight up with all of my strength and resolve. Human genes had been fine-tuned for living on Earth over millions of years, and with some light training, anyone could perform feats like these on the moon, where the gravity was lower. Yep, as I said. What you couldn't do was allow yourself to miss your daily training. Yeah, I can imagine that actually, because the muscles aren't using that much, so they go down rather fast. Jumping from wall to wall, I quickly reached the 14th floor of the building next door. Guess my heart rate did go up a bit. I glanced down to see a pair of blue uniformed policemen looking as bored as they tapped their batons on their shoulders climbing the stairs. Seems that clerk wasn't playing a prank on me when he gave me that tip. I repaid my thanks to him when I handed him that money, though by now he should have probably have used the change from it to kick back with a store-bought beer. For a moment I opened my bag in the hallway and flipped open my PC screen. I ran off in the middle of a trade, so my position hadn't changed. I should be able to get at least a week of wireless connection out here. If I were lucky, the prices would have risen and be home free. But usually at times like this, figures. After hanging my head in disappointment, I closed out my losing position and called it a day. So he failed. It's kind of interesting, as I said. Nothing good can come from wandering around downtown in the middle of the day. That's normally how it goes. After jumping from one building to the next, I decided to walk down a deserted hallway towards my favorite Chinese restaurant. It was the time of the day when most people my age would be at school, so walking around carelessly would get you chased down by the cops before you knew it. Until you turned 18, the legal age here, it was mandatory that you belonged to some sort of educational institution. Some people would say this was a good thing, while others grumbled something about government-funded programs. I fell into neither camp. My way of dealing with systems that I didn't like was quietly escape them, not to loudly criticize them. On that note, this area, with its complicated passages and extreme elevation changes, it's not odd to see the 7th floor of one building next to the basement of another. It was convenient for people like me. Yeah, you can hide quite well there, right? Not to mention the overgrown vegetation here and there that acted as good cover. These plants weren't originally included in the city's plan, Earth, but it had leaked out one of the many lunar laboratories where they were messing with their genes. Supposedly genes had tons of factors that expressed themselves differently depending on the environment. So a lot of plants and animals started acting strangely as soon as they were brought to the moon. There were even people saying that life forms on Earth could have originated from outer space and brought to Earth via the moon. Whoa! Do they wear tinfoil hats? Please, tell me they wear tinfoil hats. I like those guys. They're crazy. Some of these plants grew so well on moons of inorganic matter that you might wonder if they'd been around here for a million years. Of course, it wasn't as if these plants were free from the laws of physics. Nitrogen and other nutrients for them were often brought over from Earth. So I had any worries that the surface of the moon would be taken over by the greenery. That would be quite cool, actually. It would be weird because we wouldn't get any reflection from the sun then. That's cool. This applied to more than just plants. As for the humans here, it didn't matter how many ultra-elite think tanks came here to energize the lunar economy and its industry. Life here just wasn't sustainable without sending a lot of things over from the Earth. So you're kind of dependent on them still, which is a bit weird. According to the government statements, even if the orbital elevator were to stop moving today, there was currently enough biomass here to create an enclosed recycling-based environment. So at least you don't screw up the planet as hard as they did in Alt Nova Zero, which is why everything happened. In other words, we'd be able to eat food, crap it out, then use that crap to grow more food to eat, and so on. They'd be able to make a ton of electricity with solar panels while collecting direct sunlight to use as a super hot source of heat. So maybe they're right. Yeah, we don't know till they try. I mean, people even say that Earth was in more danger environmentally since they're still relying on oil and nuclear power. I don't know who was right. Whatever the case, I had dreams. And if it meant making my dreams come true, I didn't care if I was on Earth or on the moon. After all, my dream was to stand at the forefront of humanity. Be a place where you could only look forward and live by advancing onward. Who cared about what happened to the world behind you? If I couldn't make this dream come true, then there'd be no reason for me to live. So, if you don't keep up with your egotistical goal of being the first person in the world, be the most advanced whatever person, then you'll kill yourself. That's a bit harsh. That was why, to put it logically, I never worried a single bit about the moon's environment or whatever. What I worried about was how much money I made and how fast I reached my goal. While I was thinking about these things, I passed through a thickly vegetated tunnel towards the high ground. It was a clear day, as it always was. On the other side of the translucent membrane, the visible half of the mist-covered earth looked so small. The sky over the lunar city was wrapped in a see-through dome, and right beyond it was outer space. Gravity was weak on the moon, so you couldn't naturally keep large amounts of gases stored up on the surface. So how do you get air there? Also, why apparently each 24-hour day on Earth had morning, afternoon, night, which was followed by next day by another morning. The moon alternated between 2 weekdays and 2 weeknights. However, the human body cycle was set differently, and thanks to tens of thousands of years of living on the Earth. Most people living on the moon were immigrants from Earth. Its dome was adjusted to give off light like in an Earth-like way, and even had sprinklers attached to it so it would rain. However, I'd only see things like downpours and thunderstorms in videos. When it rained here, it was just a drizzle. Strong winds never blew here. The only winds felt here were slow, coiling movement of the atmosphere due to centrifugal and Coriolis forces, as well as the gentle breeze of air inside the dome being mechanically circulated. I strayed from the street onto the grass-covered cliff and jumped upward with a grunt. I kicked off a tree branch and rotated my body to land on the top of the tunnel. This was a box seat where you can look down on a greater part of the city. I grabbed some beef jerky out of my bag and bit to it. According to the guy who came from there, this wasn't at all close to the real thing. It was the only beef jerky. It was the only beef jerky I knew. And with this, we're going to end this. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want me to see me do more of this, tell me in the comments, and I'll probably do it. So, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to. Until next time, bye!